is 3.9% foreign trade growth. Chinese customs authorities reported China's rather stable performance for the first half of 2019. While imports jumped 1.4%, exports grew 6.1%. That resulted in a trade surplus of over 1.2 trillion yuan, or just below 180 billion US dollars, increased by some 40%. The spokesperson explained the numbers.
Recently, we've implemented a series of measures to streamline administration, facilitate trade, as well as largely cut taxes and fees, especially since late last year. This has boosted the confidence of both enterprises and the market. Plus, China continues to be more open to diverse global markets.
With the China-US trade disputes still not over, bilateral trade suffered a setback, falling 9% in the first 6 months. While Chinese exports to the U.S. dropped 2.6%, imports slumped 0.25 percentage point. But China's trade surplus with the U.S. continues to grow, and this hasn't impacted the overall trade picture, as Beijing is increasing trade with other major trading partners.
In the first 6 months, trade with the European Union saw more than 11% growth that now accounts for 1/4 of China's total foreign trade volume. Trade with ASEAN countries also increased over 10%, and trade with Japan jumped 1.7%. Trade with Belt and Road member countries increased largely and now take up nearly 30% of the total.
Besides the steady growth figures, Chinese authorities say its trade structure continues to optimize, and the driving forces are shifting at a faster pace.
One of the highlights here is that trade made by the private sector has become more vigorous. The import and export volume of private companies increased 11% in the first 6 months, accounting for over 40% of China's total trade. Another highlight is that exports of electromechanical products like electronic passenger automobiles and solar cells keep growing, taking up more than half of China's total exports.
When asked about why the imports have gained only 1.4% in the first half of the year, the spokesperson said they need to look at the bigger picture and obvious growth trend of certain consumers' products, despite the monthly fluctuations. And more measures will come out soon to further boost the imports.
The Chinese telecom giant Huawei recently released its 2018 sustainability report at a press conference, disclosing its 4 development strategies: digital inclusion, security, and trustworthiness, environmental protection, and a healthy and harmonious ecosystem. It is the 11th year in a row for the company to release such a report. The latest report indicates that Huawei has launched its global digital inclusion initiative, Tech for All, aiming to bring the modern technology to those unconnected communities in the world. In terms of security and trustworthiness, Huawei claims it puts cybersecurity and privacy protection on its top priorities and plans to invest $2 billion to enhance its software engineering capabilities within the next 5 years. The decision aims to better respond to the cybersecurity and privacy challenges in the whole industry. The report says Huawei used about 932 million kilowatt hours of electricity from clean energy sources in 2018, equivalent to reducing the carbon dioxide emission of about 450,000 tons. The company also carried out 177 community public welfare programs worldwide last year to support local sustainable growth, according to the report. The Bureau of Industry and Security of the U.S. Department of Commerce in May put Huawei and its affiliates on an entity list, which restricts the sale or transfer of U.S. technologies to the company. Liang Hua, chairman of Huawei, said in his opening remarks that adding Huawei on the U.S. entity list is not a fact-based decision.
We are strongly opposed to the U.S. decision to put Huawei on the entity list. We believe it is not a fact-based decision, and it's harmful, especially to U.S. companies. Huawei's business is now moving forward as usual. We will release a financial performance report at the end of this month.
They're protesting outside this tourist spot on purpose. City of David, or El Ad, is a heavily funded organization focused on pushing Palestinians out of Jerusalem's Arab neighborhoods and replacing them with Jewish settlers. In the case of the Siam family, Israel's High Court invoked a controversial absentee property law to rule in favor of a settler takeover of part of the family home. A newly erected aluminum wall separates the Siams from their unwanted new neighbors. The Jewish settlers who took over the home are protected around the clock by Israeli security.
Since we're staying here, we will not give up. We will keep going our life, but we will not just stop now in this step and just to say we are surrendered.
Israel illegally annexed Arab East Jerusalem in 1967. There are more than 200,000 Jewish settlers living in Arab neighborhoods today. Political trends indicate settlement and further annexation will continue and increase in the future. Peace advocates maintain the negotiation table is the only place to work out long-term solutions.
We don't have any alternative, only two states and only peace. If we are not going to go there, we are doomed.
As Israeli-Palestinian peace remains stagnant, all parties are seemingly marching down the path of doom.
Right near the Acropolis, the once forgotten neighborhood of Koukaki is a prime example of how home sharing has taken Athens by storm. Entire buildings have been turned into short-term rental apartments. Most of those bought or renovated in the area are used in the home sharing market, while Airbnb lists Koukaki as one of its most sought-after neighborhoods. Starting in 2014 with just 2 apartments, Nikos Boidanis and his work partner today managed 20 short-term rental apartments, almost all in Koukaki. They've hired 6 employees and given work to dozens of others, from cleaners to plumbers. He says Airbnb has created an economic ripple effect here across a number of sectors.
Home sharing encourages homeowners to invest in their houses. Renovated houses will attract more tenants. Tenants, especially tourists, will go to nearby supermarkets, bakeries, grocery stores, or restaurants to spend money. All in all, it will be a virtuous cycle for the economy.
Nikos Boidanis gives us a tour of his Koukaki neighborhood and points to shops that once were closed because of the economic crisis. They now sell everything from handcrafted objects to souvenirs, and more businesses are springing up. That means more revenue and jobs.
Real estate became more of an investment, not in the traditional sense of renting by the month, but getting more money, sometimes double or triple of a monthly rent, with the short-term rentals through tourism. As a result, home prices have been pushed upwards because more and more buyers, even today, are asking to buy such homes, smaller or bigger, to place them in the home-sharing market.
One study showed short-term rentals increased in Greece by 25% by the end of 2018. And competition is likely to bring more changes to the home-sharing market, at least in Athens.
Home sharing grew rapidly last year. Initially, we didn't know what it was. Then, we all wanted to do it. And now, we are entering the maturity phase. It is known in Greece that it adds to the economy. Now it also gives taxes to the state, so it's something that's here to stay. It will balance out alongside the rest of the tourism activities, and it must be done in a serious way. Otherwise, only the companies that provide the home-sharing business in a systematic way will survive.
According to Lefteris Potamianos, home-sharing platforms like Airbnb breathed new life into the struggling real estate market in Athens. Most of the home buyers, he says, remain foreign investors.
From the 9-year recession we had, when properties had lost its value by 50 to 60% across Greece, in the last 2 years, it regained about 15 to 20% of its value. The Greek property market is relatively cheap compared to the European and the worldwide standard.
Tourism is Greece's biggest industry, contributing about 20% to the country's GDP. Some 30 million visited Greece in 2018, and according to the Bank of Greece, close to 2 million of them stayed in an Airbnb rental. That is a figure that cannot go unnoticed in a country struggling to recover from one of its worst recessions.